We're moving on to step number 4. We are all born with only one way to communicate, right? When we're newborn babies, we're born with the ability to cry to get what we want. And unless we start to make the transition of goal, plan, action, perseverance at the age of 2 and beyond, when they're 11 years old, when something goes wrong or they want something or need something, the only way they're going to know how to get what they want is through crying. So we're going to start making the transition.
Thank you, Nicole, for jumping in and saying perseverance. You're absolutely correct. That means we believe they can learn, which means get out of the way. Stop overcompensating. Stop doing it for them. Stop bribing and let them have a chance to struggle. It's the struggle that builds the character. We all had to struggle when we walked, Nora, yes. It is a part of the natural process. And when we can ditch this idea that's been imprinted on the moms that for you to be a good mom, you got to be the do-all, be-all. What animal in the animal kingdom that bears offspring does that? Except for man. Everything we do is universal principles. Age is irrelevant. I see you are angry about something. Am I understanding you correct? Validate. Has this happened before? And if so, what did you do last time? Asking questions to gather more information. Are you looking for a solution? Or would you like to just cry it out? What do you do to go from anger to joy? Because if you don't know, then that's the hole in the bucket before you can actually help them. So just like in the airplane, you put the mask on first before you help your child. Because if you put it on the child first and you can't yourself, you'll die, then you both die. Go right into the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It works for everything when you know how to work it.
Child gets on the video game. Oh, he gets angry, has a temper tantrum. Now we're reacting to the temper tantrum. So we cannot be logical with anger, right? Think about when you're angry about something and your spouse goes, you should just be happy. You know, it's like, okay, I'm going to get more angry. So maybe like number one, who provided the video game in the first place? Did he actually work towards earning his video game console and now it's there and he can feel really grateful and proud of himself and something that he can take care of because he made it show up? And if you're anything like I was, no, I bought the Xbox, I put it in the basement. And so when my son was 13, when I was just learning, he's 24 now, but when he was 13, I actually went down with please don't do this. I did this because it had been a certain amount of time and I realized he didn't earn it. And so I went down with a garbage bag one day and I just packed it up and there was no more video game. Then what happened is he went out and he got a part-time job. He bought his own Xbox and there was no more temper tantrums. I'm just saying. So where you're at right now, you need to practice what you can do to master your emotions before you play video games. So yeah, exactly. Role play. Some life skills that I'm thinking right now is teaching your son to breathe when he gets upset. Take a deep breath, right? Blow out 2 or 3 times. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. These are just missing life skills that your son needs so that he can actually navigate through life, through frustrating experiences as he moves into adulthood. When we're focusing on the end result, I want my son to be independent. I want him to master his emotions. When we begin with these goals, we approach it much differently. We approach it with educational lenses versus behavioral lenses, and we are proactive about it. So if he wants to play video games again, we're going to take 5 minutes to practice what to do when your controller doesn't work or something happens in the game. And these are the 3 things we're going to do. When you follow these, you take time to breathe and you follow the role play. That means I want to play longer. When you choose to have a temper tantrum, you're saying, I'm all done for the day. Repeat back after me. And then we're moving into step 4.
Believing they can learn. Angry is natural. We're supposed to have, you can't get rid of it, but there's a universal principle that we teach called law of polarity. Who is this twin? Joyful. Maybe that might be joyful John. John that's joyful. Okay, they walk in pairs. And it's very simple to understand that when you choose one over the other, one of them will get your attention and stay. The other one instantly disappears in a nanosecond. You have a God-given gift called free will, which means we can choose Andy or John at that moment. This is a missing life skill that we don't have time to go into it deep today, but know that it exists. And when you learn this and you believe that they can learn to go, oh, Angry Andy's here. Where's his twin? There's joyful John. Do I get to choose? Yes, we do.
Yes.
And you can actually be in control of your own destiny, your own faith, and your own direction. And that's the neatest thing that we, as the king in the animal kingdom, can and should be doing. Because when we can, boy, doesn't it feel good to be in the driver's seat versus the passenger seat or in the back seat or maybe in the trunk with the luggage, out of sight, out of mind? Where would you like to be in your own life? And all our kids are asking for is, when do I get a turn to be in the driver's seat for myself?
For themselves. And that's not too much to ask, right? They're human beings. We can't get upset and angry at our children because they're upset. We need to just take a step back and go, it's my job to show you how to handle adversity. Because, oh my gosh, we're raising our kids in some sort of fantasy land that doesn't exist in the real world. If they're not taught how to step up and master their emotions when they're children, it just doesn't go away. They're not going to outgrow it someday when they're 30 and go, now I know how to master my emotions. And so, I mean, gosh, if you're here and you're like, gosh, this makes so much sense and I need some help, we're here to help you. We are personal development coaches. Thomas spent his whole life working with children. He could take up to 100 children with a couple of volunteers out on field trips. And these were the worst behaved children in the state of Washington that were sent to his after school program because he was the only alternative to daycare. And most of these kids were getting kicked out of daycare. So that's where Creating Champions for Life was born. I spent 18 years studying personal development, what makes human beings tick. I actually, had real application in a leadership role. My last team that I built was over 10,000 strong. And so I was a personal development coach, which is why I could see the brilliance of Creating Champions for Life, because every time my kids asked for something, I would be like, no, you're not doing that. And Tom would be like, hey, that's called a goal. And I'd be like, goal? We could be goal-oriented parents. Like, this is so cool. And the results are just absolutely outstanding. So inside the circle of believe, you want to put, this is where confidence comes from for your children. Confidence, self-worth. Outside of the circle, you want to put shy, unworthy, victims, bullies. These all exist outside of the circle of whether you believe your child can step up into their greatness or not. They want to please you. Things that have changed over the last 100 years, because we didn't have child behavior disorders 100 years ago, right? The term terrible twos didn't exist 100 years ago. We know this. Teenage rebellion didn't exist 100 years ago because teenagers were actually adults out living their lives, getting married and having babies. 2-year-olds had a role in the home. If they wanted to eat dinner, they helped with chores. There was no question. Parents had more children so that they had more hands to work on the farm. Today, we have children because we want to love them. And it's just not enough. Our children want more than just hugs and love. They want the life skills. They want responsibility. They want purpose. They want to have the right to have desires. And they need the right to be angry sometimes too. So then let's lead by example. Instead of getting angry with them, go, it's time to take a breath. Let's breathe. And I will talk to you when you are calm. So that is our 4 steps to turn rage into healthy, happy, cooperative kids.